Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast with Trey and Lee.
Welcome, guys. We are glad you have joined us today.
Glad to have you back. Thanks for joining in on our bi-weekly podcast, and we appreciate those who listen faithfully every week.
We do. What do we have coming up?
We're headed to Tennessee tomorrow.
Tomorrow we're headed to Tennessee. Athens,
Tennessee, sold-out workshop. And then we will be in Wimberley, Texas. So you Austin, San Antonio people from Central Texas, this is for you. And then we will be getaway weekend in July. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. Busy summer coming up. Cruise coming up in January. If you're thinking about that, get your deposit in. You can get your money back in October, I believe.
If you can't go, it just holds your place. There's like 5 spots left.
But that will hold your place. So if you're thinking about going, get signed up for that. Talk to our travel agent if you need some more info. But yeah, they only block us off so many rooms, and we are nearing that threshold right now.
And if you got a little time, maybe you're a retired couple or an empty nest couple or somebody who just has some time, we're going to the Holy Lands in November, and we still have about 5 spots on that.
Mm-hmm. Love
for you to go with us.
Yes.
And this is not our tour. We're just going, and we're inviting folks to go with us.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about a word, kind of a new word, micro-cheating. And micro, of course, means little ways that you can be unfaithful or dishonest in your marriage. And some of these are almost ridiculous, but I think they need to be said. Mm-hmm. They're pretty black and white. Some of these you'll go, of course that's wrong, but somebody out there may need to hear this.
Yes. So
we're looking at things that just little ways that we would consider this as unfaithfulness in your marriage or micro-cheating. This type of cheating kind of involves developing inappropriate, intimate connections outside your marriage and doesn't have to be physical. Mm-hmm. None of these are really physical. They're just little lies and secrecy and betrayal that comes from these little things that can destroy your marriage.
Yeah, because when you're married, you want your spouse to be faithful to you in every way.
Yep.
And just these little things like this can do so much damage.
And again, we're talking stuff, some of this stuff you're going to go, of course, but somebody may not realize that. Mm-hmm. And so we need to say some of those things. So we've got a pretty good list. We're going to go through them pretty quick. These are all areas we feel like are micro-cheating or being unfaithful to your spouse that is wrong and could get really wrong. And if this is something going on in your marriage, it better stop pretty quick because you're playing with fire.
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to take off?
Take off.
The first one is secretly messaging someone. If you're sending messages to someone and you don't want your spouse to know that you are, maybe you're deleting text after you send them. Maybe you have somebody's name listed as John when it's really Sharon. Or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Those kinds of things are not good.
Anytime you're hiding a message on your phone or on social media through any app such as Snapchat, Instagram, you don't need to be messaging people of the opposite sex that you wouldn't want your spouse to see. If you're messaging someone and you would be embarrassed if your spouse saw it, that's a sign you don't need to be doing it. Don't secretly message someone. Don't start a friendship or relationship by texting or visiting someone on social media, messaging without your spouse knowing.
Yeah. And so the next one takes that a little step further, and that's actually meeting with someone without your partner knowing it. And talk about danger zone.
It is. Maybe you built a friendship and you're just going, well, we just thought we would have lunch or get coffee or...
you may still be meeting in a very public place, but just the fact that you are,
if you're hiding it from your spouse,
it's not good.
No, this is not a healthy situation. Don't let anybody talk you into thinking this is right. Don't try to sell yourself on going, well, we're not touching, we're not doing anything. It's just a friendship. Maybe it's a coworker at work. It doesn't have to be with somebody that you haven't ever met. Maybe a coworker has asked you to lunch and you're just kind of knowing this is not an appropriate thing and your spouse would not. Yeah, don't meet with someone that your spouse would be uncomfortable with without your spouse knowing about this. That is just that's a form of I'm not being very faithful to my spouse when I'm doing something like that.
Being emotionally attached to someone that's not your spouse.
And that comes from 1 and 2. When you start texting someone of the opposite sex, and maybe you've met with someone of the opposite sex, maybe you look forward to meeting a coworker at work every day. When you become emotionally attached, when you want to visit with them every day, when you want to know what's going on in their world every day, that is not good. There are physical affairs, but there are also emotional affairs. And that is just as wrong as a physical affair, and just as hurtful in your marriage, and just as damaging as a physical affair is having an emotional affair.
Yeah. And honestly, I also think that it could be someone that you're not even messaging or anything like that, but you somehow or another are thinking about that person a lot. Maybe you're fantasizing about that person, and you haven't even crossed the line into messaging or anything, but somehow or another you've just got to, you've got to get your thoughts back on the right track and realize, this person's not my spouse. I don't even need to be thinking about that person. So you've got to, break those emotional ties in there.
Maybe it's a coworker, and maybe they are always saying something nice to you, and it makes you feel good, and you find yourself maybe just hanging out at their desk because you're hoping, maybe you're wishing your husband noticed as much as your coworker, or your wife as much as your coworker, and they make you feel good about yourself, and that's a connection that's a little that is unhealthy, not just a little unhealthy.
Yeah. And speaking of, hanging out at your coworker's desk, maybe there's a little flirtatious joking going on every once in a while. Any kind of flirting that's not with your spouse is not healthy.
Yeah, and joking would be kind of along the lines of, just kind of, we're just totally kidding around. And we'll talk more about flirting with people of the opposite sex in a minute, but when you just kind of, there's flirting and then there's joking flirting. Well, we're just kind of joking flirting.
And this could be things like saying, my work wife or my work husband. When you work so closely with someone that you say things jokingly like that, you just got to be cautious. You got to be real cautious with things like that.
Exactly. Don't play around with that. We're not a fan of the work wife, work spouse, work husband. I only can handle one, so I don't need.
Right.
But there you go. Another one, saying things like, "If I weren't married," that can come across as flirtatious joke. Well, if I weren't married, you would be my type of person. Or if maybe in just conversation with people, well, if I wasn't married, that would be the girl that I would be making a move on, or that would be the guy I was flirting with.
And it could even be things like, well, if I weren't married, I would go to the golf course every weekend. Or, it doesn't even really have to do with another person. Just the saying that if I weren't married, that's hurtful to your spouse.
It is. And it's dreaming about something that's not so. So don't dream about that. To just go around saying, well, if I wasn't married, that's a form of just, you are married, okay? Right. Be happy about this. Right. That's life. It's the life you've chose. You have chosen your love, and get busy loving your choice. So don't go around talking about, well, if I wasn't married, this would happen.
Maintaining contact with your ex or exes.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we understand if there are children involved, you have to maintain some form of communication with them to work out plans with children and that kind of thing. But we're talking about like a bona fide friendship where you're texting about things that just happen in your everyday life,
sure,
and you're joking with them, and that's, I don't know.
You don't need to be friends with your ex.
Right.
You just don't need to be friends with your ex. If you have to message your ex or talk to your ex, it is to relay information only. You don't need to be your friend. You don't need to search out your ex, boyfriend or girlfriend from college or from high school. That's just unhealthy. That's not a smart thing to do. So
maintain a respectful relationship in front of your children. But you don't have to be best buddies anymore.
That's it. That's exactly right. So be cautious about the exes, because that's not a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is just
wow.
common sense,
I mean,
but it needs to be said.
You would think you would know that creating a dating profile when you are already married is not a good thing, but there are people that do it.
They do it, and it's sad. It's embarrassing, and they know it's wrong because they hide it, and maybe they want to feel desired, or like, hey, I wonder what it would be. But then you're going back to, well, if I wasn't married.
Right.
But creating a dating profile on a dating site, or even, can I just say, building an Instagram page that makes it look like you're single, coming off and selling yourself as a single person when you're not single, that's just not healthy. You know, you should, on your social media pages, be posting some pictures of you and your spouse. You should be saying some nice things about your spouse. All of these things are healthy to do. And if people can look at your social media and have no clue that you're married, that's not a healthy thing. Yeah. It's just not a healthy thing. So don't create a dating profile. Don't come across as single. That's common sense. Just common sense. If you're doing something and you're hiding it from your spouse, you probably ought not to be doing it.
Yeah. For sure. I lost my place on our list here.
You're good.
Trying to impress someone that you have a crush on, like dressing up for them. We kind of alluded to that earlier. You know, if there's somebody at work that makes you feel good and you just find yourself stopping by their desk a little more often, and you think, you know, they're going to think I look good if I wear this, or if I wear this cologne or this perfume. Yeah. Those kinds of things. You do that for your spouse.
That's it. It is not your job to try to impress someone that makes you feel good at work, or whoever it is. So don't do that. That's just common sense. Sending someone photos of yourself. That's
a no-no.
Out of bounds.
That's a no-no.
Out of bounds.
Yes.
You don't need to, hey, send me one of your pictures. That's not a good deal. Don't do that. Don't do it by text message. Just don't do that. Can I also say, don't ask for somebody else's picture?
No.
And don't save somebody else's picture. There would be, we had somebody message us today that said, should I be upset that I found several pictures of another woman on my husband's phone that he screenshotted? And I said, yeah, I think you should. I think you have a right to, if there is another man on your phone, I'm going to be going, what exactly is this? You don't ask for pictures of someone else. You don't save pictures of someone else. You don't have a file on your phone of private pictures that you don't allow your spouse to see. That's just a no-no. Don't do this. This is just common sense. What you're gonna do is you're gonna contact us at some point and go, I don't know why my spouse has left, and I don't know why they're mad at me, and we're gonna go, well, why are you texting people of the opposite sex, or whatever it is. Don't do these things. Don't do these things.
Yeah. This is a dangerous one. Discussing intimate desires with someone who isn't your spouse.
Don't talk about your sex life with someone of the opposite sex. Don't talk about, well, I wish my wife would do this, or I wish my husband would do this. You don't say things like to someone like, I wish my husband was more romantic like you, or I wish my husband treated me as good as you treat your wife. That's just all. You're just looking for trouble. Don't discuss intimate stuff in your relationship with someone who isn't your spouse. Now, if you need to see a counselor, a minister, a mentor that's older than you, great. That's okay if you've got some things you want to discuss. But don't go looking for someone who is a peer, who is friends maybe with your spouse, to talk to them about things you got going on in your marriage. That's one of the big precursors to an affair. That is just not healthy. And in that comes, don't have secret friendships. Your spouse needs to know your friendships. Don't have secret friendships. And it is healthy when you just are open and honest with your spouse about coworkers and friendships and things along those lines. I know people who have had built friendships with someone of the opposite sex. Their marriage was good and happy, and they started texting, and within a few weeks, there is a wedge between a husband and a wife, and within a few more weeks, somebody's asked somebody to move out, and it can go downhill quickly, and you have to be so careful with these things.
Yeah. Following inappropriate accounts on social media, that's should be one of those no-brainers. There's a lot of inappropriate accounts on social media.
Yeah. If you would be embarrassed at an account that if your spouse saw that you followed, then yeah, and there are some times that I think it's just common sense. There's certain accounts you don't follow, and you may be going, well, what's inappropriate? Maybe you need to ask your spouse, are you comfortable with me following this account? Are you comfortable with following this person? And so be cautious with inappropriate accounts on social media, any social media, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, any of those things.
Yeah. The next one?
Flirting with someone that's not your spouse.
Yeah.
By personal flirting or
by
text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes text flirting seems really easy and really no big deal, and it just explodes and expands. Don't do this. Don't flirt with anybody but your spouse, and don't ever stop flirting with your spouse. And I know that some of the things that we're talking about today seem simple, and some of them seem, we meet people every now and then that will go, it's not that big a deal to flirt with someone that's not your spouse, and we're like, you're just asking for trouble. Why not? Marriage works better when you are 100% faithful to your spouse.
All in.
When the world knows I love my spouse, one of the best repellents of an affair is going around talking about how blessed you are to have the spouse you have. One of the best things you can do. There's just so many things that you can do that can come across as unfaithful, and you don't want to do anything that comes across as unfaithful in friendships, in accounts that you follow, with anything else. Faithfulness it's pretty uncommon these days in a lot of places. And if you have faithfulness in your marriage, you work hard to keep it in there, because that is a wonderful thing to have in your marriage. Because we've talked about this in our workshops. Trust is one of those things you have in your marriage. It's so easy to lose, and you don't just gain it back. It takes a long time and a lot of work to gain trust back when you've lost it. And a lot of spouses who've been the ones that's blown trust come along and go, well, I apologize and I'm sorry, I'm never going to do it again. Why don't they just forgive me? Well, maybe they have forgiven you, but hey, that trust is going to take a long time to rebuild. If you've got trust in your marriage, you guard that with everything you've got, because once it's gone, it takes a long time to rebuild that trust.
And you can lose trust by doing any one of these things.
That's exactly right.
That don't necessarily seem like a big deal, but could be very hurtful to your spouse. And I almost don't even like calling it micro cheating, because it kind of lessens it. And we're saying that you may not think these things are a big deal, but they really are. All of these are a big deal. All of these can be seen as a form of cheating. So just be very, very cautious. If you think, I may be almost crossing the line on that, I need to be cautious. There's
some people that think we're a little odd in the fact that we're that conservative on this, but boundaries in our marriage are something that we have been very serious about and want to be very cautious of. I don't call other women beautiful. You don't call other men handsome. We are cautious with the way we talk to other people. I don't go around telling women they look beautiful or, wow, you look really good today. That is not my job. That is their husband's job to tell them that. And so, as silly as some of that stuff sounds, our boundaries that we have in our marriage have protected our marriage and made our marriage stronger by us being very, very cautious about the things that we've talked about. And if you are listening and you're going, you're way over putting up way too many boundaries, hey, that's okay, but it's worked for us, and so we're going to stick with it. boundaries in marriage are healthy and we're going to keep them.
Absolutely.
And so here was a few things we wanted to point out, because we still hear folks every now and then. Is it okay to flirt with someone you're not married to? Or can I text someone of the opposite sex? Be very cautious about all of these things. Your marriage is the most valuable thing you have on this earth. Don't do anything to jeopardize that. What else you got?
I think we covered it.
That was fun. I like these episodes that run about 20 minutes. I think it
Short
just
and
works.
sweet.
It works really good.
Yeah.
It gives folks time to get down the road and everything else. We are honored that y'all listen. Thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks.
See y'all.